Hey YouTube world, and hey to my Devil Nation and my Law of Assumption Journey members. Welcome. It's me, Neville Girl, coming to you once again with a really important video. This is going to be bonus number 2 on how I manifested $1 million cash plus other large chunks. But it's getting into the nitty-gritty details, because on this channel, we make our dreams come true. I've claimed this for me and I'm claiming it for you. So stick around to the very end, because if you are new, feel free to say hello, drop an emoji. But I share tips, tricks, and things that are working for me, and stories to back it up. And so we are walking out the part of my journey, and I'm sharing as I go. So this is really an important episode, because we've been talking about the title in my last couple of videos, and I'm just going to minorly recap, but go back to how I manifested $1 million cash and other large chunks of money. There's going to be some news stories in here today, but this is critical today, critical. So please hear me out when I just can't specify enough how important today is going to be. And it took me a long time to get here. So this is a lot of years of information that helped me come to understanding what some major keys are. So stick around. This is going to be a deep one, but really valuable for getting and keeping your stuff. Okay, because we want to manifest it and we want to keep it. Okay. So let's dive into today. So we've been talking about how wealth is a state of being and not a technique. Because I am like so many on YouTube, there's a couple different camps. Some are technique. That's not me. I think there are techniques. It is a little bit like the Wild Wild West. And so therefore you got to find what works for you to stay in that end state feeling. Okay. So just like Neville said, do your sats, do whatever, live in the end. Feeling is a secret. I know some people don't think that feeling is a secret. I think it helps, because then if you can really feel that alignment, if you can really feel that you've been there, that you've had that experience in the 4D, let's just say, then it's realer than our 3D now. 3D, as Neville would have said, is old energy, old imaginations moving its way out. So it is so important, I feel, to feel the feeling, because you want it to feel natural. If you have been following the last 2 videos, it's just when my $1 million came, and even other large chunks of money, it felt natural because I was in alignment with it. And that's important for you to know. I'm not saying that you can't manifest without emotion. There's some of those people who are really into robotics. I'm not saying you can't. You can. But I feel like you can feel the feeling, if you can walk it out and live in that end state, whatever technique helps you feel that feeling on the regular 24/7 as much as possible, is going to be helping you stay in alignment. Okay. So this is the foundation of what we're going to be talking about today, because you want to feel the feeling. That's my POV, my point of view, because you want it to feel natural, so that unless you're winning the lottery or something like that, and I'm all for manifesting those kind of things, you want it to feel natural. And I'm going to share a couple stories in here today that is going to give you examples. So here is the part 2 that is system critical. Please don't click off, because it's going to sound like, But when I came across self-concept, I just didn't know what to make of it. A little did I know I was kind of working on it, because we are going to do a video on subliminals. I am a big fan of subliminals, because self-concept, because you can manifest a lot of stuff like I did last spring. Okay. Huge amount of things came flooding into my life all at once. SP, trips, just significant changes all at once. But then I started to notice that there were some changes in my manifestation. Some things were going a certain way. Some things were not going a certain way. And because I had just learned about Neville, I was diving into and I saw and heard self-concept, but I didn't know how important it is. And so here's what I want to say about stuff and your SP and your money and whatever. You can get it, you want to keep it, okay? So let's keep our stuff. Let's keep our alignment. And really that's what we are talking about, is we are talking about alignment. We talked about alignment to you on the timeline, where it's the version of you in the matrix, in the field of possibilities, where you've got SP, money, and so on and so forth. So it's about alignment. But how do you know what your alignment is? Well, number one, there's the feeling. So that's why I'm a fan of feeling it and feeling it natural, but also your thoughts. And if you've been following me along, you will know I have mentioned before stinking thinking. Because you can manifest something and then all of a sudden start to get like you're in the middle of it. And not to get too into the weeds on this, but just an example, you can start to have a thought like, what if SP this, or what if SP that, or what if this trip, or what if this, or what about my job? Like, so, okay, so your thoughts, every thought is an affirmation. It is also a vibration and an alignment. That is why we're going to do a mind mastery, a mental mastery, a couple videos on that. It might turn into a series, but master what you're thinking, because we get to choose. Okay, so choose your thoughts wisely. And if you're getting a thought is contradicting the enjoyment of your manifestation or even receiving it, you can choose. Just choose. You get to decide. That's why I'm a big fan of not just having all these techniques. Find what works for you, which I know if you've been following me, I love the thank you prayer. Thank you for showing me that all of my issues have already been solved. Or thank you for showing me this issue with such and such is already solved. Also, SATs. Just going to sleep, state akin to sleep, just before you do, your subconscious is wide open. And same thing first thing in the morning, and you can just visualize first person experience that you're wanting to manifest. But once it's here, we want to keep our stuff. So self-concept. So self-concept, your thoughts. Your thoughts are going to tell you where your self-concept is. I didn't really put that all together. I mean, it sounds so basic now that I think about it, but I am telling you, your thoughts will tell you what your self-concept is on that topic. You can have an amazing self-concept on money, and then yet personal life can be off, work, SP, family, friends. So you want to know how you are doing in any category, look at the results. Then you can be happy with it or not happy. You can even be happy and modify it more, but choose new thoughts, which have new vibrations, which puts you in a new alignment. The more consistent that you can remain in these thoughts, which are also affirmations. That's why I did the whole series, Commanding Your Morning, because once you've said something multiple times, I think the numbers actually, when they start to get into neuroscience, is like 10,000 times. Once you've thought that thought or said it out loud 10,000 times, I believe, is what it takes to wire and refire a new thought, a new neural pathway. So that is my hot tip of the day. And it took me a while, because I used to say to myself, well, my self-concept's great. Like, I feel good, you know, I'm on my way. And those are positive rampages. But results in your life will give you feedback. There's no right or wrong. It's just feedback. And if you start to get a worry, if you start to think about something that you wish you weren't thinking, choose a new thought. That's why I'm the biggest fan of blanket affirmations or blanket statements. I guess it would be focused affirming. That's why I love Neville, and I thought he was a genius about this. Isn't it wonderful? Everything is just wonderful. You know, if I am tempted to think about something And I know that in the past, I've thought these thoughts before. I pause, I time out. So you do want to be aware. Like Mary Morrissey would say, you want to notice what you're noticing. You want to think about what you're thinking about. And it is a full-time job. The next video I'm going to be doing is actually proving that you are a master manifester. And we are. We are. So you can either go by default, or you can actually start to recognize that thoughts are affirmations, and you can start to kind of weed through them and select them. So self-concept, my friends. Now, this is why I love subliminals so much, because not only do we have our conscious mind where we can choose and pick our thoughts throughout the day, use our blanket affirmations, like, isn't it wonderful? Everything's just wonderful. That's why I'm going to be sharing, I'm going to do a specific video on some favorite channels, because there's some great channels out there, and I might even share some today, but it helps you stay consistent, because you want to feel the feeling of your manifestation being natural, and then keep consistent thoughts that keep you in alignment to the version of you that has your stuff and is keeping your stuff and is going to evolve to the next amazing version, right? So all of your thoughts are just feedback or the results that you're getting. And so it takes a little bit of courage, I must say, because again, I did get to the point where it's like, oh, my self-concept's great. But look at the results that you're seeing, like the feedback. And yes, it's old information, old energy, right? But it's information to take in. Don't take it personal. Pick new thoughts, new ideas, and work on that self-concept. So subliminals, I love them. I've been doing them now for like 5 or 6 years, and I didn't realize the power and how powerful and important, because you can take something like nighttime, like after you've done your state akin to sleep and you've done your visualizing. Sometimes there are amazing audios that you can listen to that have like rain sound or ocean, but you're wiring and refiring positive thoughts on any given topic. And it's super valuable, because we not only want to be in alignment to getting our stuff, we want to be in alignment to keeping our stuff. I can't stress that enough. And to be able to launch from that point on that timeline to the next amazing timeline. And so it's all about vibrations, and it's all about just what we're thinking about and self-concept. So I guess I'll share a couple of videos that I really like right now. So there's a channel called Love Assumption Girly, and she has an audio that is my self-concept is top tier. That's one of them. And I would also say that I really enjoy a lot of audios where I get into the feeling and emotion. So if another one comes to mind, but that is one for self-concept that I would say is great. It's like a crackling fire. Like I said, we're gonna do a whole video, but here's something to know. So when I manifested that $1 million cash, life was amazing. Because we were manifesting, me and SP were manifesting other things that allowed us, even in a crashing economy, to basically retire or semi-retire. We were still working on passion projects, we were still bringing in money, but life had evolved and changed. But what I also noticed, that there were things that were coming up after the fact. So then we've got the money, the lifestyle you want to choose now that you can be semi-retired. You know, we were working out more, we had passion projects, but there were other things going on. And now looking in hindsight, I can see clearly that it was self-concept. So it's so important, because it ended up being to the point where even though things were amazing in one aspect, over time, other things weren't going so well. And then ultimately, the whole situation dissolved. Now, this took quite a long time. I want to say like maybe 3.5 years, but I can look back and honestly say it's self-concept, because I wasn't mastering my thoughts. I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't even know I was manifesting. I had no idea. So another thing to say about this, which is super important, is when I came across all of this, The reason why I got so excited and the reason why I am so passionate to share all this with you is that you're thinking, okay, Neville girl, it's all gone so super well for you. Yes, a lot of things I have manifested, but I didn't know that I was manifesting, okay? And both good and both bad, we are master manifestors. So I used to say to myself, and I shared in the last video, I wish I knew how to manifest. Like, I was manifesting all these amazing circumstances and still saying, I wish I knew how to manifest. And the reason being is they don't come with like a flashing neon sign, like a billboard saying this is a manifestation. And sometimes even the most surreal circumstances, because it unfolds in a natural way with an alignment in the quantum field, it can still somehow all make sense. And I'll give you a wild example of this. Because during that time when I gave the backstory in my last bonus video, I was describing all the back steps that went forward to the $1 million cash. Well, one of the stories that I left out, but I'll just share because it's going to sound surreal, is the fact that during this time, due to some politics and just some things, like I said, if you watch the last video, I was growing as a person and new opportunities were coming my way. So I love the expansiveness of new possibilities. Cool. So due to some politics, I was at the time, even though I had a lot of like gigs that I was enjoying, I was getting paid a top dollar. Into my lap fell also a job, if that's what you want to call it, sitting in an office. You're not going to believe this, but it's true. Sitting in an office with a profession that I didn't know anything about, wasn't required to know anything about, and other people were going to be doing the work for me. Again, it was related to politics, and that's all of the situation, and that's all I can say about that. But I was literally collecting ginormous checks, 10,000, 15, sometimes 20, and all I had to do is show up for the most part on a regular basis. Now, does that sound surreal? Absolutely. But I didn't know I manifested that. It didn't come with a neon sign. I understood how it unfolded into my life. It didn't last for a super long time. And then shortly thereafter was the $1 million situation where I was retiring anyway. But doesn't that sound like, how could that all make sense? How do you not know you're manifesting? Well, it felt so natural at the time. It didn't feel like it. So with all those amazing things that have happened, you can also go into a point in your life, especially if you don't know that you're a master manifestor and you don't know that you're manifesting, where things can take a turn. So same thing. I went through a period after all these things, because of course I didn't know I was manifesting, saying I wish I knew how to manifest, where ultimately I experienced a divorce. And then I experienced having to have a significant surgery that was potentially life-threatening. And also some things happened with my career, with my spa. So then I had to let go of that. So a lot of things happened at once. And it kind of became a chapter for me because I didn't know I was manifesting. And sometimes manifestations happen for like our greatest good too. Like some losses are gains down the road, as our energy is shifting, and then we go to the other. But it became kind of like a dark chapter for me. And because I didn't know how to manifest, and I didn't have Neville Goddard, and I didn't have a formula and I didn't know these things, that when I finally came across Neville Goddard and I could see it finally, I was so excited. And I really saw it once I saw all the manifestations. And this is after feeling dark. So when people say they're afraid that they can't manifest when they're feeling down or when they're feeling stressed, it was a longer, darker chapter for a while. And I hate to call it that, but I'm just being really real with you, being really honest. And all this time, I did not know all the power I had within. And you would think with all those amazing stories I share with you that I would realize that. But no, my friends, just keeping it real with you, I couldn't see it. So when I found Neville Goddard and started doing the thank you prayer is when I started to understand the power of everything I've been sharing on this channel. And we're going to be sharing a whole lot more. As soon as we get 1,000 subs, I'll be able to do coaching live. That's where I want to do my coaching, is the live streams. But that's why I'm sharing the experience, because now, that's why the next video is going to be about showing you evidence, total proof that you are a master manifester, because that's when you start to understand it and you can play around and do the experiments like I've been doing or not. But I highly recommend and suggest doing experiments, because it's just going to make you feel more empowered. You're going to understand when working on a smaller topic that you can tackle the larger ones, that really there's no such thing as a big manifestation as a small one. It's all vibration. So it doesn't matter if it's $1 million or it's just, I don't know, a new sweater. I used to put things on a pedestal and I think it's normal, but then if we don't have the alignment, if there's not a naturalness, if our self-concept isn't like, of course it's $1 million, of course I'm going on an amazing trip, of course I have the most amazing SP, it will trip you up at some point, or not, because you might get a hold of yourself in the middle of it. And if you can get a hold of yourself, pay attention, notice what you're noticing, be totally honest with yourself, because again, you can't screw this up per se. You just get feedback, readjust yourself, get a hold of yourself, and focus on what is your self-concept. And your self-concept is whatever you're saying on the regular on that any particular topic. So that's why I've said before in other videos, it's a 24/7 all-in kind of thing. Not saying that one little thought won't pop in here and there, but my friends, we don't have the luxury of just thinking anything all day long. That's how we manifest by default. And if you want to live by default, just allow yourself just to think what you've been thinking, because you're going to get the same results. If you want a new life, if you want new results, you got to choose and you got to work on your self-concept. And that can sound like you're in the wrong, but all it is about betterment and choosing. You're actually empowered in this point. At this juncture, you are empowered to choose new thoughts, new vibrations, new affirmations, and new manifestations. It's just a choice. It's a muscle, and we're going to go into muscle in Mind Mastery, but we're also going to talk about, the next video is going to be about just getting a hold of yourself and just showing you that you are the master manifester. So I hope this video has helped for today. I wanted to share a little bit more. It's your bonus number 2. I hope just getting a little more specific on this topic has been helpful, because I'm passionate to share what I have learned, and I want all of us to walk this journey out in the most magical way possible. So again, enough about that. And I don't know where you are in the world today or what you're trying to manifest, but I'm holding this space that you have, and assuming that it's already come true. Remember, you've got this, and I'm showing you how. So create something wonderful, create something magical. And until the next time, bye.